Hi everyone, this is Sheila Shaffie and welcome to another episode by ProcessArc. In today's video, we're going to dig deep into two really popular methodologies, business process mapping versus customer journey mapping. In particular, what we're going to talk about are what are the goals of each of those process mapping exercises, how are they different, how they fit into one another, and ultimately, why do you need both of them? Now, if this is a topic of interest to you, plus innovation, creative problem solving, please make sure you subscribe. Now, let's go back to customer journey mapping versus process mapping. Before I talk about the goal of each one, let's just quickly touch on the topic of how are they similar? Because there are similarities, they do have goals that are similar, but they're more different than alike. So there's two things that is common between the two of them. One is the fact that they are trying to, in a graphical, visual way, represent how work is getting done within a business, how work flows and the different stages within the production of a service or completion of a customer request. And the second goal that they have in common is that they're both trying to find improvement opportunities. But that's kind of the end of it. Now let's talk about what the goals of each one are, and then we'll talk about how they're different. So customer journey mapping is all about building empathy for your customer. It's about identifying what it feels like to do business with you as a customer goes through the various stages of completing a purchase or a service or an inquiry with your organization. So it's all about documenting the stages and the emotions that are experienced with a customer. Now, you juxtapose that with process mapping. Process mapping is all about creating an unbiased view of how work and data flows within your organization. So process mapping is trying to understand the various steps, decision points, system, and talent that's involved in order to complete a customer request or build a product or service. So really, when you start thinking about it, while customer journey mapping is all about building empathy and trying to understand the emotions of a customer as they interface with you, process mapping is trying to figure out exactly how work is getting done, which, as you can understand, drives the emotions or impacts the emotions and the feelings that we're leaving with the customer. So when we go to the next topic, which is how they fit into one another, I kind of gave it away in my previous sentence, which is when I was trying to explain that the impressions that we leave with a customer predominantly are driven by how we have built our systems and our processes. But when it comes to customer journey mapping, there are actually 4 distinct dimensions. The first 2 layers are the customer journey and the front stage. So the customer journey is around the major milestone or stages that they're going through in order to complete a purchase or a transaction or request with you. And front stage is the methods by which they are interfacing with you. Are they using the app on a mobile device, or are they coming into a branch using a call center? And that's what the customer actually sees and experiences. Think of it like an iceberg. That's kind of like the tip of the iceberg. And what the customer doesn't see is the 2 stages below that line. And the 2 stages are the backstage and the systems and processes. So that's when you are examining how employees within your organization are working with the available processes, systems, policies, and procedures in order to react to what the customer request is. Now, that's exactly why and how these 2 elements of customer journey mapping and business process mapping fit into one another, because while one is trying to understand the experience that we're leaving with the customer, the other is trying to examine why that's the case. just because the customer wasn't happy with something that we did because they waited too long, or it wasn't easy for them to browse through the website to find the product that they needed to purchase, that doesn't help you get to the root cause of why that is. And that's where the process mapping and the analysis of your business practices and systems become equally important when it comes to supporting client experience transformation initiatives. And that's exactly why you need both of them. We see a lot of times that there's tremendous emphasis on customer journey mapping. And of course, that is incredibly important. We need to know what it feels like to do business with an organization, but that's not where you leave it. That's not the end of the journey around creating transformation initiatives around client experience. Or actually in parallel, it doesn't mean that you have to do the customer journey mapping first and then the business process mapping. It actually makes sense to either do both of them in parallel or do the business process mapping first to get a sense for the major processes and the systems that are involved. And then you have enough context and information to overlay the customer journey mapping findings on top of it. In next week's video, we will dig into how to actually develop a customer journey map, and then followed by how do you build the process map, and then how do you actually analyze these two types of process maps in order to figure out where you've got improvement opportunities. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to subscribe. We would love to hear about how you are going about developing customer journey maps, where you may be stuck, where you've got questions, or how you take what you've identified in the process mapping activities that you have so far and try to figure out what to do with those findings in relation to customer journey mapping. I'm grateful you joined me today. Again, I look forward to your comments and questions. Please make sure you put them below, and I will see you again next week.